Good morning, learners, and I want to welcome you, ZRN8, to our Unit 3 of Psychology. And in this unit, we are going to be looking at motivation. So Unit 3 is all about motivation. This lecture is brought to you and was prepared for you by Mr.Rombeza, aka Master E from Mosa University. So I want to start by welcoming all students to this Unit 3 of Psychology, and it gives me a lot of pleasure to be with you after a very long time. I thank God that we are all still alive despite the COVID-19 pandemic, and I urge you to continue keeping yourselves safe. As nurses, Zambia needs you, not only as nurses, but even as citizens. Zambia needs you. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this lecture as you also get motivated. Because motivation is not only about you motivating others, but it is also getting yourselves motivated. Now, our objective is to see in this lecture how motivation can help you as prospective nurses to dispense your duties more diligently. In other words, to be more professional, to be more diligent, and to be able to help the patients that will come to you for assistance. So, this lecture will help you to be able to at least motivate yourself, because you also need motivation as you work. And it will also be able to motivate your workmates, those that you work with, at the places where you're going to be working, or at the place that you're working even right now. They also need to be motivated. It will also enable you to motivate your relatives and friends, because we all have somewhere that we're coming from, and those people that we stay with, be they your relatives, be they your friends that you interact with, they also need some motivation, which you yourself should be able to provide. And then perhaps you also need to motivate, not perhaps you just have to motivate your patients that will come to you when they need assistance and when they need to be attended to. And so that is that. So this lecture will therefore avail to you as trainee nurses the opportunity to be acquainted with knowledge about what motivation is. It will also help you to be knowledgeable about the types of motivation, how you can motivate others and yourself, and why motivation is necessary in our day-to-day lives. We need motivation. This one is a fundamental issue. It's a cardinal issue that we have to have in our lives. What keeps us going in our day-to-day lives and activities, it is just this issue of being motivated. So therefore, since you have said that, then by the end of this lecture, you should be able to define motivation. You should be able to state the types of motivation. At the end of this lecture, you should also be able to articulate Maslow's theory of motivation. You should be able to discuss the importance of motivation in nursing, and then maybe suggest possible ways of how to motivate your patients, because those patients that come to you for assistance and they need help, they have in some ways or in some cases to be motivated. So we start by looking at the definition of motivation, because this is what we want to look at to say, when we talk about motivation, what are we talking about? What is it that is called motivation? Like this lecture, we tried to have it some time back, but it was a flop because of the sound system. I'm sure it was perhaps because of this side. But today, I thank God that you are able to get me and that all is well. So, when you talk about motivation, we have arguments that have been put across by various scholars. But these arguments to do with definition of motivation are scattered, disjointed, and diversified, that it is not possible to come up with a unified definition of the same. In other words, there is no consensus on what motivation is. People try to explain it in several ways or in various ways, so that there's no particular agreement to say this is how we are going to define motivation. So the arguments there that we have and the information that we have there is scattered, disjointed, and diversified. Therefore, the definition of motivation, as we can see, it has remained veiled in obscurity. It is not clear. If it is veiled, it means it is something that is behind a veil where you can see there is something, but you can't see clearly until the veil is removed. And then if it is obscure, it means, of course, it is not clear. So, however, scholars have come up with various ways of defining motivation, and all these various ways add up to one thing: satisfaction. So which means when we are talking about motivation, we are talking about satisfaction. Now let us look at these few examples that can help us define what motivation is. Look at a small bird. It collects material to build its nest in the corner of the roof of a living room, goes around collecting materials, trying to build its nest on the corner of the roof of a living room, maybe your own living room. You try to remove it, but the bird brings even more straw and leaves and continues to build its nest. So in spite of the discouragement that you may have made to stop it from building, it continues. In the same way, an athlete may be seen trying very hard to improve his performance by continuous practice. He's there by himself. There's no one who is telling him, there's no one who is pushing him to, but he's just trying by himself hard to improve his performance. Or you can look at a writer who is engaged in the task of writing a book. He has sleepless nights, sometimes even failing to eat properly, because he is trying to write a book. Look at yourself as a student. You may be found in the classroom, perhaps sketching the poses and figures of the teacher or your lecturer, drawing pictures, drawing sketches and poses of your lecturer, or even imitating them, how they speak, how they walk, or how they even teach. And as a student also you may be found studying or not studying, whether there be someone telling you to or not, but you find yourself engaged in such activities. So, what makes the bird to behave in such a manner? What makes the athlete to go training? What makes the writer to write his book? Or what makes the student to imitate their lecturer? What makes the student to study? The answer to such questions, which are related to the why kind of behavior, lies in the keyword motivation. In other words, their acts are the result of motivated behavior. The bird behaves in the way that it does because it is motivated. The behavior is motivated. The athlete also is motivated, so is the writer and the student. They are all motivated. Why they behave in the way they do? It's simple: motivation. They act in order to satisfy their basic needs and to attain the desired goals. So it is to satisfy their basic needs and to attain the desired goals. Moreover, interest is the central factor in any type of behavior, and motivation is closely related to this factor. In other words, for you to be able to do something, or for you to be pushed to do something, or to push yourself to do something, it should be out of interest. Do you have the interest to do something? Then interest will actually lead to motivation, because what is motivating you is because of the kind of interest that you have in whatever you are doing. I'm sure you as a nurse, you have interest in whatever you are pursuing as a career, and so that is motivating you to go on studying in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, in spite of the expenses that are involved even in this exercise, but you still find yourself going for it. Why? Because the interest is there. Now, let's look at what Mangao gives us a definition of motivation. Mangao SK 2003, page 24, defines motivation as, and I quote, I'll give it as it is, a mechanism and process of inculcating and stimulating the interest of an individual in a goal-seeking behavior, growing out of some activating forces like needs, drives, or motives. Simply put, motivation is a state of the organism which involves the existence of a need that moves or drives it from within and directs its activities to a goal that can bring about the satisfaction of the need, unquote. So from this definition, what you can actually see are the keywords that I've highlighted there. Inculcating. If you are inculcating, you are putting something where it wasn't before. So motivation is a mechanism, a process of inculcating. In other words, you are putting in something which was not there. You are inculcating. And if it is stimulating, stimulating is bringing about something which is there but maybe which is not active. You bring it out. And we talk about interest. That is the interest that has to be inculcated. Someone has to have interest put in them. If you want to motivate them, inculcate interest first in them, or if they still have the interest, then stimulate that interest which is in them. Stimulate that interest which is in them, and then that interest has to be in a goal-seeking behavior which is growing out of some activating forces like needs, drives, or motives. In other words, what we are simply saying is that whatever we do, it is because there is a need. And a need, we will discuss and describe what it is. But needs push us on. They make us do things. Why do we do this? Because there is a need. It is necessary that I do it. There's a drive. There's something that is pushing me. What is driving you to do this? And there's a motive. And if we're talking about motives, we're talking about the reasons. What is the reason for that kind of behavior? And like we have said, simply put, motivation is a state of the organism which involves the existence of the need. There is a need there that moves or drives it from within and then directs its activities to a goal that can bring about the satisfaction of the need, which means the aim of motivation is to satisfy a need. Good morning, D. It is to bring about the satisfaction.
Good morning, sir.
The need. Welcome. motivation. As you have joined us, I was talking to myself here. Now that you are here, at least there are two of us. You're welcome to join me. I hope others will also join us as we proceed.
Thank you, sir.
Right. And so the word motivation,
Sure, they will.
fine, thank you. I hope you're keeping yourself safe in this COVID-19 pandemic.
Very safe.
All right.
Very safe.
Okay. All right, let's proceed then. Now, the word motivation, as we have it, it is taken from the ancient Latin word movere, which means to move. So when we are talking about motivation, it has everything to do with motion. It has everything to do with not remaining in the same place, but you are prompted to do something because you are motivated. So when someone is motivated, they don't sit around, they are propelled to do something. So motivation can therefore be defined as that which energizes, sustains, directs, and regulates behavior towards a particular goal. So there are four things there. It energizes, gives it energy, it sustains, in other words, it keeps it going, and it
Yes.
directs, and then it regulates
Yes.
behavior towards a particular goal. So those four things that we're talking about. So which means if we're talking about motivation, it is an action related to something because there is energy involved. There is sustaining. In other words, you don't do it just for one thing, for one moment, but it continues. And it has direction, and you regulate yourself, how much you're supposed to do it, when you are supposed to do it, how you are supposed to do it. That's the regulation where you say it regulates. Now, based on the given definition that we've just been talking about there, we can therefore say that motivation, maybe those three ways that we can give, which I'm sure you are looking at, it is the energy that drives people in particular ways. So it means it drives people in particular ways, which means there is a direction that it takes. It is that energy that is directed towards something. In other words, when you're motivated, there is a goal that you want to achieve. You don't just get motivated. When you get motivated, what do you want to achieve? Which direction do you want to take? Because you have to have something that you want to achieve. And so motivation is also a systems perspective. It can be a force within the individual or a force in the environment. That is what we mean by motivation is a systems perspective. It can be something that comes from within, or it can be something that is pushing you from outside. We'll talk about those systems perspectives later on. Now, if we look at what others say, we have Child, his book written in 1986, who also describes motivation. And the definition that he gives is that motivation is that which consists of internal processes which spur or which drive people to satisfy some need. Which means it's internal processes. What he talks about here is internal, something that is coming from within. And those internal processes coming from within, those are which drive people to satisfy some need. Which means motivation is all about someone striving to satisfy some need. What do you need? Whatever you need, you find yourself being pushed, being driven to achieve it or to get it. So motivation therefore explains the why behavior. In other words, if we are talking about motivation, we are talking about why people behave the way they do. Why do people behave the way they do? I can even ask, why did Dee join me in this lecture? Why are other people not joining us in this lecture? And so we can even
Okay.
say you people have decided to take up some training as nurses because you want to enter the nursing profession. Now,
Yes.
why do you want to enter the nursing profession? One simple answer is there is something that is pushing you. There is something that is motivating you. And if you look at a person who is hungry, that person eats food because he wants to relieve the feeling of hunger. Why do you eat? You don't just eat because you want to eat. There's a reason. You are hungry. So you look for food. You get motivated to start looking for food. Start looking for the money to buy that food. Start cooking. Start preparing everything that will make you eat so that you relieve the feeling of hunger. So in its literal meaning, therefore, if we are talking about motivation, motivation is the process of arousing movement in the organism. Like I've said before, if we are talking about motivation, someone does not remain seated, someone does not remain in the same position. It is the process of arousing movement. Someone moves. The organism moves. There is some movement involved when we are talking about motivation. So, motivation is the process. I want you to look at those starting, directing, and maintaining. In other words, there is supposed to be a start in motivation. There's supposed to be a direction where you are going with that kind of motivation, and then maintaining that physical and psychological activities. And that is given by Richard J. Gehrig and Philip G. Zimbardo. According to Fisher E.E., motivation is the internal stimulus causing the mobilization of chemical, metabolic, physiological energy into a unifying force to achieve a goal. So it has everything to do with the chemical, metabolic, and physiological energy, unifying those to achieve a goal. And so the end result of motivation is attaining a goal. And like you are right now, you are training to become a nurse. What is the goal? The goal is to become a nurse. And that is what is pushing you, that is what is motivating you, that is what is making you move. Because you want to become a nurse. You don't become a nurse by remaining seated. You do something about it. You go to school, you study, you do all the activities that are outlined for you, you attend lectures. That is now motivation. But you are not there simply because you want to become a nurse. It is to get motivated, and when you get motivated, you get into action. So, borrowing from the above definitions, or from those definitions that we have just talked about, motivation, therefore, is the internal state that arouses and sustains behavior. So I want you to, that one I want you to remember, because I will ask you some questions perhaps at the end of the lecture, or even in some tests that I may give you, what motivation is, how motivation can be defined. Motivation is the internal state that arouses and sustains behavior. The internal state, I'll repeat that one again. Motivation is the internal state that arouses and sustains behavior. Now we look at the types of motivation. So what moves people to do things differs from one individual to the other. If you look at yourself, you are still alone, and if you have someone sitting next to you, you look at them, you find that you are not even the same as they are, because there are no two individuals who are exactly the same. We all have individual differences. We are very different one from the other. We are not the same. Some people are pushed to do things because of what they will get, while for others it may not be so. You know, people want to do things because at the end of the day, someone will tell them, very good, you did well. And that is what is pushing them now. That is what is driving them. They are aiming to be praised. They are aiming for someone to say, well done, good. But for others, they don't care whether someone is there to praise them, whether they are going to get anything out of it. But there is something that is pushing them, which is not these external forces. So, there are two types of motivation that we can talk about. Number one, there is the extrinsic motivation, which is motivation from without the individual, something that is coming from the environment. And then there is the intrinsic motivation, and intrinsic motivation is that motivation which is coming from within the individual. So there are two, like I've said. Sometimes you get motivated by those things that come from outside, like the rewards and things like that. And sometimes it can be from within, which is intrinsic, something that is coming out of genuine interest. You say, why do you want to become a nurse, for example? If you are pushed because of extrinsic factors, then perhaps you are looking at the salary, you are looking at the praise that people will give you, you are looking at the recognition and the status that you get. But perhaps if it is intrinsic, why do you want to become a nurse? And it is intrinsic. Then you could be talking about things like, I want to become a nurse because you have interest. I have interest. I love the profession. I just want to help people that are suffering. I want to help the sick. I want to help Zambia deal with ailments or diseases. That is now coming out of interest. So that is now intrinsic. Intrinsic motivation. Now, this intrinsic motivation refers to the motivation that comes from inside. That is what we're going to start by looking at. We said there are two, so we start by looking at intrinsic motivation. The intrinsic motivation refers to the motivation that comes from inside an individual rather than from any external or outside rewards such as money or grades. But sometimes if we ask people to say, what is motivating you, we get all sorts of answers. People will tell us, no, me, I want to become a nurse because I have interest in, and people maybe run away from the fact that we all want money, we all want grades, we all want to earn a living, we all want to have a good future, and that future comes because you have decided to become a nurse. But for others, they will say, it is not like that. It is not coming from such kind of rewards or money or the grades, but it is coming from within. So, intrinsic motivation originates from within a person out of interest, out of the desire to meet challenges, and out of sheer enjoyment. Do you enjoy being a nurse? Do you enjoy being a nurse? Do you have interest in your profession? Does it provide you with the kind of challenges that will make you want to achieve or to meet them? Because that then is what is going to push you to say, I want to. So, intrinsic motivation derives its source from the need to achieve or to attain self-actualization. And the key word there is attain self-actualization. So which means if we are talking about motivation, we are not even looking at other people, how others are doing it. Whether you are there alone or whether you have your friends, the idea is you want to achieve or to attain self-actualization. You are looking at yourself and what you want, and that is coming from within. I have reached my full potential, because very few people reach their full potential. Right? We are getting many. Welcome all those that have joined us, you have found us along the way. Hope you join us and will be able to catch up with us, whatever we have covered in your absence. Welcome. At intrinsic motivation has the following attributes. If we are talking about intrinsic motivation, it has self-adopted standard or goal. It has self-standard goal, and motivation is by the set goals, self-adopted. In other words, if it is intrinsic, there is no one who decides for you what you should do. It is you to decide. It is you to decide who you want to be with, what you want to do, when you want to do it. And motivation is by the set goals. In other words, you do what you do because you have set the goals. Sometimes you find people set goals because their friends are doing it. And you ask them, why are you going there? No, it is because I want to accompany my friend. I'm going there because my friend is going, so I can't remain alone. And motivation, again, if it is intrinsic, it is self-regulating. For example, a student may choose to pass an exam. You see, passing an exam is a choice. You are motivated to pass, to choose to pass an exam. And therefore, in order to pass that exam, what do? You set your own strategies, like studying hard. So, which means if you want to pass an exam, what you simply do is you set those goals, do those things that will make you pass the exam. So, extrinsic motivation is the next, which is the opposite of intrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation refers to that motivation which comes from outside an individual. So what are we talking about if we say motivation is coming from outside an individual? What we are simply saying is that the motivating factors are external. What are external motivators? These are outside rewards, such as money or grades. I'll go back to what I've been talking about and what I've said to you before. That what is it that pushed you or that pushes you to want to become a nurse? Someone will tell me it is money or it is the grades. And if it is these rewards, such as money or grades, then the motivation is extrinsic, because if there's no money, you would not want to become a nurse. What has made you to join the nursing profession is because of the money that you're going to get. What has made you to join the nursing profession is because of the kind of living that is going to give you. It is going to give you the kind of future that you hope for and that you want. And so, minus that, you wouldn't want to become a nurse. So, the motivating factors are external. You are expecting something out of it, and that is what is pushing you to want to become a nurse. These rewards provide satisfaction, and that the pleasure task itself may not provide. The rewards provide satisfaction that the task itself may not provide. You may not even want or not even enjoy being the nurse, but You want to become the nurse. Why? Because you are looking at the rewards, what it will be able to do for you. Though you may not like it, though you may not enjoy it, but I'm in it for the rewards. I'm in it for the sake of my future. I'm in it because of the money that I'm going to get. I'm in it because of the recognition that I'm going to get. Those things now we are saying, they are the external rewards that are pushing you as a nurse, pushing you as an individual to want to pursue that career as a nurse. Now, as we proceed, you find that if we are talking about the nursing profession, it finds its sources in the desire for approval by other people. It finds its sources in the desire for approval by other people in order to feel validated, a feeling of belonging. Why do you do that? Why do you want to become a nurse? So that other people can approve to say, yes, you did well. Others become spokespeople or spokespersons of groups of people. Why? Because they always seek approval. And when people say you have done well, they get satisfaction out of that. They get sheer enjoyment because people have approved whatever they have done. People have approved their action. So they have that kind of feeling of belonging because they have been approved. Now, extrinsically motivated individuals are driven by other people's feedback or by rewards, which means if they are alone, they can't do anything because there's no one there who is giving them any feedback. There's no one who is telling them, you did well. There's no one who is talking about giving them rewards. All that is there is that they are by themselves, and so because it is extrinsic motivation, they don't get motivated. Motivation is there because of the rewards. So, although reward increases extrinsic motivation, it can lower intrinsic motivation, which becomes evident once the reward is no longer available. So, which means when you are looking forward to a reward, the motivation is very high. And there are others who get discouraged and who don't wish to be rewarded for their activities or for their actions. And once you reward them, they get demotivated. I know I've just done this for you. Please, I was not expecting any reward. I was not expecting any thank you. It's just that I wanted to help. And when you thank them or when you give them a reward, they get demotivated. And again, if you're talking about extrinsic motivation, once the reward is no longer available, there is no motivation. If you are in the nursing profession because of the money, and then suddenly you are told, those that are going to be serving as nurses are not going to be paid, then the motivation to be a nurse goes. You are no longer motivated to become a nurse because why work when I'm not going to be paid? Why should I be involved in the nursing profession if there's no one who is going to pay me? So, motivation therefore goes because of that. There is no reward and therefore no motivation. That there are terms which we use in motivation. Number one, we use the term motive. What is a motive? Motive is any internal condition that causes or directs a person's behavior. Any condition that causes or directs a person's behavior. In other words, if you are to be asked a question, what is your motive to become a nurse? we are talking about the reason why you want to become a nurse. That is your motive. What is your motive? What is your reason to want to become a nurse? And then we talk about the need. And this is what most people misunderstand when we are talking about a need. When we are talking about a need, so a need, if we are talking about a need, we are talking about anything, any deficiency, anything that you don't have but which you should have. So a deficiency is something which gives rise to drives which are aimed at fulfilling that need. So in most cases, when we say I have a need, many people misunderstand that term. A need is something that you lack, something that you don't have, but something which you should have. You should actually have it, but at that moment you don't have it. So it becomes a need, it becomes a want, it becomes a desire. And that want or desire or that need will drive you into action. It will push you to do something. So needs are categorized into biological and psychological needs. In other words, some of them are biological and some of them are just psychological. Now, the other term that we use in motivation is drive. What is a drive? A drive is an activating force that moves an individual to act or behave in a particular fashion at a particular time. An activating force that moves an individual to act or behave in a particular fashion at a particular time. So that force, what is it that is driving you? The force that moves you, the force that propels you to do something. A need gives rise to a drive. That drive is given rise to by the need. The need makes you move. The need activates the drive. And then we have incentives. What are incentives in motivation? Now, these incentives are actually reinforcers or reinforcing agents. Now, if we're talking about reinforcers, we are talking about those which make you want to do something. They reinforce. Incentives like in the salary, like job security, like a good future, bright future, something like that. That is what we're talking about. If we're talking about incentives, if we're talking about reinforcers, we are talking about reinforcing agents. These are what propel, what make you to want to do something. You are motivated because of the incentives that you get. Now, in order for a stimuli to qualify as a basic drive or motivation, it needs to possess the following characteristics. So what we are talking about now are the characteristics of motivation. So motivation has to do with intensity. So what we mean when we talk about intensity, intensity, it is that stimulus which should be able to absorb the individual to the exclusion of other motivations, that at that particular time nothing else should matter. That's intensity. When you are motivated to do something, you don't think about anything else except that which you want to do. For example, let's talk about a man's love for one woman. And because that man loves that woman so much, he would disregard other women and then disregard any setback in order to win the woman's love. In the same way, the opposite can be also true, that for any woman who loves any man, they would go on to disregard any other man, no matter how many they come, in whatever fashion and in whatever way, and any setback that might be there and to discourage her so that she wins his love. That is intensity. You disregard everything else and set yourself to achieve whatever you want to achieve. Now, motivation also, if it is one of the characteristics is persistence. Persistence, we say, is not over until it is over. So which means the goal behind motivation must be constantly recurring in the mind until the goal is met. No wonder why I've said it's not over until it is over. Because with the motivation, there is a time when it will be over. That is when you achieve a goal. Because you cannot continue to be motivated with something that you have already achieved. You wanted to win that person's love. You have won their love. You have won their heart. So why continue to be motivated about winning them? They are already yours. So the motivation behind goals, you start net on something else. For example, another example is that of a student who might keep resitting particular courses until those are passed. Why you continue to sit for examinations? Because they have not been passed. But once they are passed, you cannot continue resitting them. You cannot continue to be motivated to resit what you already have as a subject. Then we talk about the variability. What is it that we mean when we're talking about variability? We are saying motivation may take various forms, adapting them to many different contexts and persisting all the way. Motivation may take various forms. In other words, motivation does not come to you in only one way. There's no one way of getting motivated. Motivation can take various forms. And adapting them in many different contexts and persisting all the way. So which means we are talking about the issue of persistence. For example, a person motivated by hunger may find various means to relieve it, such as eating wild fruits in the time of famine. So what it simply means for us is that a person is motivated by hunger. There are various ways of satisfying that hunger. There are various ways of relieving oneself from hunger. One of them, get wild fruits. One of them, you cook in shima and you eat. One of them, buy bread. One of them, you get to eat beans and soya chunks. You get carpenter and you eat. And you relieve the pain of hunger. So motivation comes in so many forms. Now, we talk about the theories of motivation that have been given, and there are several of these theories that have been given, and some of these theories that have been given, the one that we're going to be looking at perhaps today is that by Abraham Maslow, which is the need drive or the humanistic theory. Then we have the theory by Herzberg Frederick. That one is called the two-factor theory. And then we have one by Porter and Lawler, the expectancy theory or the vroom theory. Then we have McClelland David, the acquired needs theory. One theory is by Aldafa Clayton, ERG theory. And then we have James William, the instinct theory. And then finally by Hall, incentive theory. But for the purposes of this study, that is for our psychology and what we are going to be looking at with you together, it is just two of those. The first two, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is the humanistic theory or the need drive theory, and then the other by Hesbeck Frederick, the two-factor theory. The others, well, you can by yourselves look at them, but for the purposes of our study, we are going to look at just two, Abraham Maslow and Hesbeck. Now, we start off with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, Abraham Maslow, who lived from 1908 to 1970, did a study of human needs. What are we talking about? He did a study of human needs. He suggested that needs have the primary influence on human behavior, and that human behavior is best understood by developing awareness of unsatisfied needs. I'm sure you remember what we said when we tried to look at those other terms that are used in motivation. One of them is need. Here we are talking about those needs now. What are these needs? These needs are those things that you should have, but which you may not have. So according to Maslow, the primary influence on human behavior is determined by unsatisfied needs. When you have unsatisfied needs, they will propel you, they will make you act, they will make you move so that you satisfy those needs. So the behavior that we have, it is moved by unsatisfied needs. And I'm sure you can see how perhaps true or accurate he is in his assertion that when you have an unsatisfied need, what makes you act, what makes you move, what makes you do things, it is because you want that need to be satisfied. And so you won't remain seated. You won't remain in one position or the same position, but you want to try and do something so that you have that need satisfied. Now, Maslow argued that human beings have a hierarchy of needs which range from physical, and if we're talking about physical, we're also talking about them as physiological or basic needs, right? So the first one is physical or physiological or basic needs. Those are the first, that is the first group at the bottom. Now, going up, we have the safety and social, the safety needs. And then the third level, there's the social, love and belonging needs. And then the fourth, self-esteem. And then the fifth is the self-actualization needs. The self-actualization needs. Right. He went on to say that the higher needs emerge when the lower needs have been met. For example, at the bottom of the hierarchy of Maslow's needs are the physiological or the physical or the basic needs, which are things like food, sleep, etc., which you can't do without. If you can't sleep, if you have not slept, you can't even go to study, you can't even be in a lecture like this one, because you are sleepy, there's something that you did not do, something which you need. If you have not eaten and you're hungry, you can't sit and listen to Pastor E because you are hungry. You can't sit and be in a lecture because you are hungry. You need food. So these basic needs have to be met before you can think about security, before you can think about your safety. Because sometimes when people are eating and they're hungry, they don't care whether they are safe or not. They don't care about their security. All they want to do is to satisfy their hunger. For example, like I've been talking about, a man may do anything and some things that are very dangerous in order to get food. Wonder why others in gambling, others in thieving, others in pilfering, others in stealing, others pretending and lying. Why? Because they want to get those physiological needs like food, water, sleep, etc. To push people to do certain things. Now, Maslow argued that the satisfaction of the basic or the physiological needs triggers the emergence of more abstract needs. In other words, he suggested that a satisfied need is no longer a motivator. If you were hungry, you have eaten, you are now full. What's the purpose now of getting motivated to eat again? If you are looking for food, you found it, you have eaten, now you are satisfied. So it is no longer, food is no longer a motivator. If you were thirsty, you wanted water to drink, you wanted some fizzy drink or some sweetened drink, but now you get those and you drink, you are satisfied. Why should you continue looking for it? So which means once you are satisfied, it's necessary to look for that which you are looking for, the motivation goals. So Maslow suggested that a method of studying needs is by arranging human needs in a hierarchy of 5. I'm sure we have already listed them. You can perhaps cite them with me. We have the physiological at the bottom. Going from the bottom, we have the safety needs. From the safety needs, we have the love and belonging. And then we have the self-esteem. And then finally, self-actualization. I'm sure you remember that.
Yes.
Ascending order of the basic needs according to Maslow. And there is just a picture to show you how the hierarchy of needs Maslow can be actually arranged, starting from the physiological, the safety, love, belonging, esteem, and finally self-actualization. And I don't want to continue repeating what I've been talking about because we've been talking about this. Let's move on. Now, the physical needs. The physical needs are considered essential or necessary for survival and are the most basic that every human being should meet. Even the patients that you are going to help or that you are going to handle, they have these basic needs which they also should meet. And sometimes it is your duty as a nurse to help those patients to meet these basic needs. It is your duty as a nurse to help those patients of yours to meet those basic needs. And what are these basic needs? These basic needs include food, they include air, the air that we breathe, they include
Rest, fluids, activities.
they include activities that we do. They include elimination, and if we're talking about elimination, this elimination of waste. We are talking about maternal response now from parents, etc. And it has been said that even sex is also regarded as a physiological need. It is necessary for people to have sex, though it is not essential for individual survival, but for group survival. for procreation.
As, excuse me, sir.
True. Sex is a basic need. People need to have it. If they don't have it, you'll see others will be moody, others will be angry. Until you have it, then you can be free. And then you are well with others. That need has,
Excuse me, sir.
yes. Oh,
What does it mean by maternal response?
maternal response, we are talking about the love from the mother. Because if it is
Oh,
maternal, we are talking from the mother's side. Who doesn't need the mother's love? If your
so
mother,
it's a basic need.
if your mother doesn't love you, everything else will not matter until you get mother's love. And mother's love sometimes
But
provides us with the kind of comfort that we all
mm,
for us to be able to move on and do other things. Because my mom loves me. How many of you even talk about your mothers? Especially you ladies. You talk so much about your mom, about how mom loves you, about what mother does this and that for you. If they don't, you may find yourself even struggling in class, not even concentrating, because there's something that there.
that is missing. So
So
it has a negative. So if you miss maternal response, it has a negative part on an individual.
yes, you are not motivated to do other things. For you to be motivated to
Okay.
do other things, if your mom loves you, then you get motivated to do other things. But if there is no
Okay.
maternal response, if there's no maternal love, you may find it difficult even to concentrate in school, even to do any other thing, because you are thinking, why does she hate me? Why doesn't she love me? You are looking at others being loved by their mothers, and you are looking at yourself as an exception, and therefore all these other things, they don't matter until you get your mother's attention, your mother's love.
Okay.
Mothers are
It's
very.
clear.
Now, if all these needs are not met, all other needs do not matter. For example, when a person is thirsty, if you have not taken some water and you are thirsty, anything else will not matter until you get that water to drink. I've seen people getting out of the exam to go and drink water. I've seen people getting out of a lecture to go and drink water. You can imagine how important an exam is. But someone cannot continue because they are thirsty. They ask for permission to go and drink water. And until they drink the water, they can't continue with the exam. So someone may stop whatever he or she is doing to find the fluids, quench his or her thirst. So for you as a nurse, when a patient is incapacitated and is unable to do something for themselves, is unable to feed, is unable to drink the water, what should you do? You should ensure that these are met. These needs are,
Met.
for example,
Met.
by feeding via nasal gastric.
Nasogastric tube.
No wonder why sometimes people are given tubes. It is because they want to satisfy those physiological needs. For someone to think about getting better when they are hungry is not even feasible. They can't even think about getting better because they are hungry, they are thirsty, and even some medications are said, please take after food or take with food, something like that. So it becomes necessary, therefore. Now, after the physiological or the um, basic or the physical
Basic
needs,
needs.
we move on to the safety and the security needs. Now,
Needs.
after your food, after you are full, now you now say, am I safe? Am I secure? Something which you could not think about because you were hungry, but now that you are full, now you begin to think, hey, where am I? Am I safe? Am I
Yeah.
am? Why? Because you have had the basic or the first set of needs met. So if we are talking about safety and security needs, we are talking about a physical environment which is free from threats and fear, but sometimes which you can even forget about if you are looking for food, and if you are looking for other things, you don't think about whether you are free or not. All you want is to fill your stomach, but then after that now you begin to look around and say, am I safe? So safety and security needs also includes dependable social structure, and we are talking about even the houses that you stay in. Are you safe in that house? Is the lock on? At night, are the windows closed? Is it burglar bad? Can thieves not walk in? Can someone not break in while you are sleeping? And one should also be safe from bodily harm and from wars. So which means if we're talking about safety, someone is saying, am I safe in terms of being safe from that which causes bodily harm and being safe from wars? Am I safe from wars? There should be protection from germs and natural disasters, and that includes financial security. Now let's look at even our situation at the moment. We are saying, are we safe from the COVID-19? Are we safe from the coronavirus? Because we need protection from such. And we are talking about a situation where everything has gone wrong. Are we safe financially? Maybe especially because of the COVID-19, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things that are happening which make us to be unsafe in so many ways. Now, the safety and security needs dominate and are urgent in times of disasters like this one that we have, in times of emergencies like this one that we have, in times of war, in times of disease like this one that we have, and in times of injury. So we talk about safety. Are we safe when there are disasters? Are we safe when there is war? Are we safe when there are injuries that are going on? Are we safe in terms of emergencies and disease and things like that? It is without any doubt that most individuals' actions may be motivated by the need to meet safety and security needs. What do you do because of the disasters that are there? You begin to wear masks. Everyone becomes a ninja. Even those that never used to wash their hands, they are beginning to wash their hands.
They're now washing.
Hey, cleaning their hands. You begin to use sanitizers. Those that never used to use sanitizers, you become generally very hygienic. Even those that used to enjoy being dirty, in terms of war, you begin to find yourself maybe